Hey everybody, happy Thursday. I'm really happy to be back again today. I was mind boggled all day because I wasn't sure what I was going to even create. I'm telling you, some days it comes to me really quick, and then there are other days where I can't even decide what I'm going to make, and that was today. So I ended up deciding on Halloween cards, and we're using the Best Wishes stamp set that's in the new mini catalog. It's really an adorable little set. And the only problem with this set is there is a lot of coloring. Now you'll notice, hey Beverly, earlier today, and I struggled for hours trying to do a sped up video. I did not know how to edit it. Did it last minute, so I couldn't figure it out. So if you're going to watch that video, hey, oh, I'm glad you like Halloween. So if you do happen to catch that video and you want to watch it, just turn your volume off. I do not speak, but you will hear my things clicking, the markers clicking, and just background noise. Hi, Karen. Thanks, honey. And here are the images that I did color. They look much better here. So these, I did color all of them. We're going to do her little buckle on her hat tonight. And then I did the little frogs. And here's the fire. So I did color all of them. Hey, Betty, how are you? Hi, Elizabeth. I did color them all during the video, and then I cheated so I wouldn't have to color them again. I actually ran them through my printer on cardstock so I could make my mock-up cards for tonight. Okay, so that's what I did a little different. My videos run so long, I figured let me do my coloring ahead of time, show you how I colored them. Like I said, no explanation, I just did it. So here are tonight's two cards. I did some, use the polka dot stencil on this one to mimic the little bubbles in her cauldron. And then on the inside, I added spiders, and this is from the Cottage Wreath stamp set. There's a cute little spider in there. And then I added the little frog in the corner. Hey, Kathy, how are you? Oh, I'm so glad. And then on this card, it is actually a half of a front of a card. And I put a big giant moon and blended some color onto a piece of basic white to mimic the sky, and then just decorated this front little piece. So before we get started, if you'd like these make and takes for tonight, use that code on the screen. I won't even add a minimum or maximum. Any purchase with that host code and you'll get tonight's make and takes. So we just want to hit some news. I still have registration open for my event in October. This is posted up at the top of the screen. Yes, I just started. Nope, I just started. You're not late at all. I was just explaining that I did do a coloring video for the images separate so I don't keep you guys here for an hour and a half. And then secondly, if you have a long list of supplies that you need, the best way to do it would be to join Stampin' Up! As a demonstrator. You don't have to do what I do. You can just enjoy the benefit of a 20% discount on all your crafting supplies. For $99, you get $125 worth of supplies. And for the month of August, Stampin' Up! Is going to throw in this Making Plans collection. There's a planner with all the inserts. There's a trio of notebooks and a stamp set that goes along with it. I'd love to have you on my team. So if you're interested and you want to talk a little bit more about it, just get in touch. Hey, Debbie, how are you? Thanks, Stu. I love to color. Okay, so let's start on this card first. I will have a PDF for tomorrow. I am not sure when it's going to get posted. I called and fought for an appointment for Bill because he hasn't been feeling good since his bladder procedure. And I actually got one at the VA tomorrow, which is unheard of. Usually takes forever. So we do have an appointment in the morning. So I'm hoping if I get up early enough, I'll be able to get it done before we leave, but I'm not going to promise anything. Okay, so we're going to start out with a basic black card base, and this is 8.5 by 5.5. And of course, it's scored at 4 1/4. And then I'm just going to show you the pieces, and I think what we'll do is the stencil, so that'll have a chance to dry. I'm going to layer another mat of basic black, and this is 5 1/4 by 4. I'm going to layer that with a sheet that is 5 by 3 3/4. I'm going to use the black and white designer series paper, and this one is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8, and I'm actually going to use the opposite side. And then we're going to pop up a stitched rectangle, and this is the rectangle that is 4 by 2 5/8. And this is a Daffodil Delight 2 3/8 by 3 3/4. And here is our piece that we're going to need, and this is 2 1/4 by 3 5/8. Okay, let me grab a piece of scrap paper here. Now what I'm going to do is I have my embossing paste, and yes, I do keep it in the plastic bag. This way it does not dry out on me. And then when you open it up, you'll see that I even have my foil still attached, because I'm always afraid it's going to dry out. And then we're going to grab a dirty block and the Parakeet Party ink refill. And the reason I pulled that color is it's very hard to see, and you'll notice if you look, hey Kathleen, you'll notice if you look at the coloring video, the bubbles that are in this cauldron I actually colored in the Parakeet Party. So all we're going to do is take a little spoon. I'm just going to grab one of my spoons, and I am going to just grab out a little bit of the paste. Let's cover this back up. Hope everybody's doing good. It's been a crazy week. But I'm telling you, there are some weeks that are even crazier than this one was. So, and I'm just going to actually add 1 drop of the reinker. And I'm not going to completely mix it. I just want to give it a few little turns, only because I want it to be a mixture of the green. I do not want it completely green. So before I add this paste. Here's that little spider from the cottage wreaths. And I'm just going to ink him up in Memento, and I'm just going to add him right here to that corner. And then I'm going to grab my stencil, and I am going to put it over the whole piece, but I'm going to go around that spider. So we're just going to pick up some, and I am going to just cover this white sheet. If you wanted to, you actually can tape this down. I'm just going to hold it and pray that it stays in place. Sometimes my arm will jerk and it'll go flying, but we're going to hope that it works. So now we're just going to come around. There's that spider. So I'm just going to come around this spider. Get a little bit more. Get that dot there. And this dot here. And then these two right here. Whoops, let's clean that off. So we just want to fill in these polka dots without covering up that spider. And I think I got it all. Now I'm not going to do it right now, but I would suggest after you stencil and you pull this up that you go and you wash this off so it does not stick. And I'm just going to give it a quick brush, and I'll do it after the video. And the same thing with your tools. You really do want to remove it, because you can see it does leave a residue on the block. So do it as soon as you can. And we're just going to take this now and put it aside and let it dry. Okay? So let's pull that card base in. And we are going to layer up these 3 layers. And I'm going to use my glue tonight. Since we're not using any white, I can use my glue to glue everything down. How can I? You can actually see it through the holes, too. I'm thinking that was you who asked that question. But yeah, I like I said, I was thinking about using this stamp set. And then I kept thinking, oh my gosh, if I color it during the video, you guys are going to be here for over an hour again. And I know how precious time is for everyone. So I did do a separate coloring video. So if you're joining late, that's exactly what I did. I just created another video with just the coloring. So you can speed it up. If you do happen to watch it and you have any questions, feel free to ask. Colors, I used a ton of colors. So I'm just layering these layers up. And then we're going to pop this up onto the front of the card. And I'm going to do that right now while that piece is still drying. And we'll pick up this little girl, and I'll just explain a few of the colors that I used. So if you happen to catch the video, you'll see what I used. Okay, so we're just going to center this right on the front of this card. Okay. And then I'm using the Amber Gems from the, which one? The Hello Harvest bundle. And I'm just gonna, I see a hair sticking to it. Stick one in this corner, and then I'm gonna stick one right here, right down there at the bottom. So we're gonna work all around this one layer so it dries. So here's our little girl. For her face, I use the Stampin' Up blends for the skin tones. And I believe I used SU 1000, 800, 600, and 400 for her face. Now for her hat, I do not have any of the dark, the black or the grays in the blends. So I did do her hat in Copics, just so I could give it some color and shadow and highlights. It's in the group, Elizabeth. I posted it today. And then for her cape, I did the Copics. Underneath, I used Cherry Cobbler, both, and light real red. And then for her dress, I used Pumpkin Pie, dark and light. I used Mango Medley, light. And I used Dark Cinnamon Cider. So that's how I did her dress and the band on her hat. Okay. And then for her little cauldron, the bubbles are Parakeet Party. The flames are the same color as her dress, but I also added some real red to the bottom of the flames. You really probably can't see it very well. And then I added the same colors to the wood and then added a darker, I believe this is Early Espresso and black in the front for the wood on the cauldron. And that is why I decided to do the stenciling in the Parakeet Party, because of the bubbles in her cauldron. Okay. So let's just grab a piece of basic white, and I'm going to punch one out. I'm using the postage stamp punch, and I did one in orange. And then I'm going to grab You've Put a Spell on Me. And let's see, where's my Versamark? Here it is. And I'm going to open it off air because my Versamark pad is disgusting. And we're going to, hey, Laura. Hi, Pamela. Yeah, I love that punch. I've very rarely used it, but it is perfect. All right, so we're going to ink up our sentiment really well with Versamark. Give it a good stamp. And I'm going to grab my black embossing powder. And we're going to emboss it in black. And it's so funny. I keep forgetting to use that little embossing buddy, because I know I'm going to have embossing powder in places it shouldn't be. Let me just get a scrap piece of paper here. You know what embossing powder does? Gets all over. Oh, no, yep. Yep, in the middle. Okay, we're going to do this again. Where's my little buddy? Let's just get some of this on here. It really does work. I mean, how crazy. I keep forgetting all about it. So we're going to ink up again. Add our embossing powder, because the black on white will definitely notice it. So I just want to make sure it's a nice, clean embossing. And it's still just a tad bit. I'm just going to grab this. There we go. I must have had a little piece of hair. All right, so give me a second and let me heat this up. It's so funny. I have my heat gun attached under my table. And that's really why I don't pull it up, because I have it attached underneath my table. So it's out of the way, but it's handy at the same time. All right, so let's close up that embossing powder. Get rid of this Versamark. I do have a new one. I don't know why I don't pull it out. And we're going to grab this punch again, and I may need to trim this piece of paper so it'll fit. Nope, yep, maybe a little bit. So I'm just going to trim this down just a hair. Get rid of that embossing that I messed up. And then we can stick this. The reason I want to trim it down, and I'm going to use my tool to pull it in. Hopefully I can get it to work. Is I want the sentiment to be further down in the punch. If I can get it to do it for me. I think I cut too much off. All right, let's try this again. Now it's stuck. Okay, there we go. I want to get it in here, so I'm going to have to use a... Okay, so I'm having a rough time getting this inside of my punch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a piece of paper, grab some seal, and I'm going to add it right here onto my sentiment. This way, I can actually feed it instead of struggling. Feed it in, because like I said, I want to get this, and it's just not feeding in the bottom. Oh, there we go. Little stinker. There we go. I want it to give me enough space in this corner. You'll notice on my card, that's where my cauldron is. So I want some space up there so I can put that cauldron on that corner. So give it a punch. Just like that. And I'm going to just peel this off. That's the piece that I glued on. And I just want the right-hand side and the bottom to have the orange sticking out. Just like that. So I just want to glue these in place. And that's all ready for the front of our card. So let's pull in our stenciled piece. It should be dry. I'll be really careful. So we're just going to attach this with some liquid glue. And we're going to center this on the Daffodil Delight. Yeah, and it's still a little bit damp, so I don't want to play with it too much. Let's grab that sentiment, and I'm going to glue this right here in the corner. So we're going to add some glue. just like this. Make sure it's on there straight. Okay. I'm going to grab another little scrap of paper. I'm going to add a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to stick it under this corner and add some glue there so this corner holds down. Okay, let's grab that cauldron. I'm going to grab a dimensional. We're going to stick that right behind. And this is going to go right here on the corner of that sentiment. Now I'm using the black and white gingham ribbon, and we're going to make a quick bow. Grab my ribbon scissors. I have embossing paste all over my finger. I'm going to have to clean that off. Hi, Dawn. How are you? All right, so we got our little bow. Make sure that knot is nice and tight, but you can still get it off your fingers. This way you'll have nice puffy loops. You can check your loops if they're not even. You can pull on one of them to get them even. Then I just like to pull my tails down so I can trim them. Let's get rid of that and pull in our glue dot. And we're going to stick this ribbon right here in the corner. And I'm just going to take this little tail and just stick it right underneath. Okay, so let's pull our little girl out. You'll notice that her little buckle is gold. You are welcome. Her little buckle is gold, and on tonight's image, it is white. Let me show you how I did that. I'm going to pull in, let's grab a new scrap piece of paper for the embossing. Let's use this one here. I know I have flowers on it. I think if I turn it inside out, you're going to still see them. Okay. I want to emboss her buckle, and I could do it one of two ways. I can take the refill, the Versamark refill, and brush on the Versamark and emboss it. Instead of doing that, I'm going to grab this fine tip liquid glue. And when you're doing it, just make sure that the glue is going to come out, and then put some glue, color this buckle in. My hand is shaking. Color this buckle in with the glue. Try to get right line to line. Fill it in. Even if the glue is puffed, it's okay. Just get that all filled in. Just like that. There's enough on there so it's not going to dry that quick. I always like to put my top back on because it clogs so easy. And then I'm grabbing my gold embossing powder. And I am going to, instead of making a mess, grab a spoon. And I'm just going to cover that belt buckle or hat buckle. Just like that. And I'm not going to brush it or anything. We're going to lift it up. And again, very carefully, as you can see, we do have a little bit of, and I don't know what I do with my brush, embossing powder on it. So I'll use this. So I'm just going to tap off, what the heck is on her hat? An embellishment. We're just going to get this off her hat. Should have used the embossing buddy. I should put a big sign here on my desk. Don't forget the embossing buddy. All right, so we have our embossing powder. Let me heat this up, and let me see if I can't pull this up onto my desk so I can show you what happens with the glue. You really don't want to over emboss, but you'll notice that it's going to bubble up. I don't know if you were able to see that, but with the glue, it really does bubble. And you don't want to overheat it because you'll burn it because of the glue underneath. But it does actually make it look like a little buckle. Can you see that? So now she has a little buckle on her head. And we can pull our card back in. And we're going to pop her up on the front of the card also. So let's grab some dimensionals. We're just going to put 3. And we're going to have her off a little bit, but we want her to be right by that cauldron. And as you know, I did fussy cut them. So, and then let's just add her right here. And then I'm just going to grab a black magic marker and I'm going to add a little black line for his web. And there's the front of our card. So let's jump to the inside. We have 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, 5 1/4 by 4. We're just going to grab that little spider again. I just want to make sure there's no little fuzz on him. And our memento. And we're going to add a few of these little spiders right here to the top of this layer. And then I'm going to grab that black pen again, and I'm just going to, they're not even straight lines. All right, so there's our little spiders. Then I'm going to grab one of my frogs. Now for the frogs, I actually used dark pineapple punch, which is not even available anymore. I used dark shaded spruce, and I also used the parakeet party to dress him up and add some different colors. And then I gave him a layer, and you probably can't even see, but I did also give him a layer of Wink of Stella. So we're going to just, we don't want to put too much glue, but we want to make sure that he's glued down. So we'll just spread that out a little bit. And we're just going to add him right to this corner because this crazy little witch tried to turn that frog into a prince this year, and it didn't work. So I don't have any seal available, so I'm just going to do a little bit of glue. And let's layer these together. And a little bit more glue. And pull in our card. And there we go. All right, so there is card number 1. Again, if you're joining us late, there is a coloring video in the group. I posted it sometime this afternoon. Just make sure you turn your volume off. There is no talking, but you'll hear my clicking, the clicking of my markers. Okay, so thanks, Margaret. Yeah, the frog is cute. Yeah, the glue and the embossing powder is awesome. I love using it because it acts different than with the Versamark. I mean, you can use the Versamark if you'd like. That's really no problem. But, all right. So let's pull in the second card. This one's just a little different. We are going to start out with a card base of 5.5 by 4 1/4 in the basic black. I'm going to add a pumpkin pie layer, 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, a daffodil delight, 5 1/4 by 4, and then I do have a basic white that's 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. This is the one we're going to blend. So let's move that out of the way for a moment. For the front of the card, I have a piece of basic black that is 5 7/8 by 2 1/8, a little less than 2 1/8. I hope I cut these pieces right. I'm going to trim this down a little bit. Give me 1 second to grab my cutter. I just want to make sure that it's going to fit on there nicely. Oh, look at that. It is 2 inches, so I'm just going to cut that down just a hair so we can see. There we go. Okay. So like I said, the basic black is about 2 1/8 by 5 7/8. And then I ended up scoring it at just about a 1/2 inch. Okay. And then we have our, I was going to say paper pumpkin. Pumpkin pie, 5 1/4 by 1 7/8. Daffodil delight, 5 1/8 by 1 3/4. And then we're going to use the gray side with this white, black and white DSP. And this is 5 by 1 3/4. And then what did I do with it? I die cut one of the trees from the Dies Beautiful Trees dies. It went with the Beauty of Friendship stamp set. And that is for the front of the card. Okay. So let's just grab this layer. And we're going to grab our piece of scrap and a blending brush. And what I did was I die cut a circle with the layering circles. And this is the 2 1/4. That's a lie. 2 3/8 inch circle. And this is masking paper. I buy it in a roll. I believe Stampin' Up! Has it in sheets. And all I did was took a piece of the paper, attached it to a piece of cardstock, die cut my circle, and then peeled the mask off. And we're just going to take this and lay this down because we want to blend the sheet but we want to keep a moon, an area for the moon. So starting with our lightest color, which is Daffodil Delight, we're going to blend this color onto this sheet. And we're not going to worry about it being perfect. We're not going to worry about it having blotches, because the sky has blotches even on a beautiful day. It's various colors. Thanks, Kathy. Did I forget the line for the spider? Okay, so let's just blend. And I'm doing the lighter color right around the moon, because the moon is going to shine white and it's going to be bright around the moon. And then we're just going to add some to the background. And that's the Daffodil Delight. So now I'm going to grab my Mango Medley. And I know mine needs to be re-inked, but we're going to add some Mango Medley to the background. And like I said, I am not going to really worry about it having blotches, because I want it to be a little spooky looking. I'm just going to grab these corners. And just blend. All right, we're going to pull back our Daffodil Delight. I'm going to use the same brush, but I'm just going to go over it and just try to blend in some more color to make it a little bit richer in color. And you're not going to do this the same way twice. So don't try to match. If you do it and it comes out awesome, don't try to match it, because you're not going to get it to match. Let me just grab a... Really, you love Halloween. See, when it comes to holiday cards, I always have such a hard time. It's so funny. I can make all kinds of cards. When it comes to holiday cards, any of the holidays, I have a rough go. I'm just going to wipe this off. Okay. Oops, dropped it. So there is our blended background. I'm just going to grab my pokey tool and very carefully, I'm going to take off that mask. So now we have a beautiful, beautiful moon. And I'm just going to take the blending brush and very gently, I'm going to go around that edge just so, and you really can't even see it, but there's just a little bit of color around the edge of the moon. Okay? Thanks, Karen. Okay, so let's let that dry for a minute. We'll pull in our card base. We're going to first glue our Daffodil Delight, excuse me, to the pumpkin pie. And I'm just going to get this in here and try to get it so it is centered. Okay, so there's our layer. Now we're going to pull in that little basic black strip. I'm going to make sure that that's really folded nicely. And this is what I tucked it on, just like this. Now it doesn't come all the way to the edge on this one. Let's see. I might just alter this just a hair. Let me see if I can't add like 1/8 of an inch. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to score this a little bit more because I want it to be pretty even with the base of the card. So I just scored an additional score line. The wipe is sticking to me. So I am just going to add that little bit, just 1/8 of an inch, and give it a good fold and see how that is. Okay, that's much better. So I can get that to fit on there, and it is perfect. So let's add some glue to this flap here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to lay this on the card. You want to make sure that it's even with the bottom. Even if it overlaps a little, that would be fine, because you can always trim that off. But we just want to make sure this is on here and then fold it over. I'm just going to make sure this is stuck really good. All right, now that that little front flap is on, let's add some more glue. And we're going to add this right here to the card base. I'm going to lift it up and make sure I can get this on here straight. Okay, so there is our little flap and our base. Now we can add our moon. So we're just going to add a little bit of glue. I forgot to refill my seal, so I have to use glue tonight. So here we go. It's got, once this is really dry, you can write right on top of that. Okay, so there is our card base. So let's add our layers to here, which I have right here. And all I'm going to do is layer it up. Make sure it's on here straight. Glue is always perfect because you get to move it around a little bit. Just layer this all together. If I have to trim it, I'll be able to trim it. Make sure it's going to fit on here, and it will. So let's add this to the front. And again, we want to just make sure it's on there straight. Okay, then we're going to grab our tree. I actually wanted the tip of the tree to be below the top of the card here, but we could actually, let's just grab our scissors. Let's just trim this down a little bit. That's good. And we're going to add some glue to the trunk. And I'm just going to put this right in front of the moon. Make sure that trunk is straight. That looks better. And then right here at the bottom, I'm just going to trim it off so it fits onto that layer, just like that. So we're going to grab our little witch again. I actually use the same exact colors, the cherry cobbler, the real red, my Copic blacks, cinnamon cider, pumpkin pie, and this one I believe I used Daffodil Delight on just to add a little bit of contrast to the color. Okay, her little broom, I used Stampin' Right markers and put the bristles in and added some soft suede, crumb cake, and Daffodil Delight. And then I did another little frog the same exact way I did the other one. Wink Estella, Pineapple Punch, Parakeet Party, and Shaded Spruce. Okay, so now we're going to pull in our double oval punch. This is one of my favorite punches. And let's see if I have a scrap piece of paper here. Sorry, Hal. Yep. So I'm going to grab some of the pumpkin pie and I'm just going to punch that out. Now I'm going to grab a piece of, and here's the die cut from the tree. I'm going to use this, and I have If You've Got It, Haunt It, and this time we are going to use our Versamark and our white embossing powder. So let's grab the white. Let's grab our embossing buddy. Yeah, I know they did. I love the dies to this set. You know, there's some sets, I mean, I sell everything. Usually everything that retires, I sell. I have an eBay store and I put everything on there. And there's some things I just will not get rid of. And that's one. I love trees. All right, let's just get a scrap piece of paper here. And I want to ink this up really good. We did the embossing buddy. We're just going to stamp that. Add our white embossing powder. Just like that. And hopefully there's no, and there is, of course, straggling white pieces. That's because I rocked it. You know me. I just want to get off as much as I can. All right. Now, before I heat that up, I'm just going to put it aside for a second. And we're going to pull in our little witch and my gold embossing powder. And we're going to do the buckle on her hat. And then while I have the heat gun going, I can just do them both. So we're going to do the same thing. Make sure, check how the glue is coming out so you don't blob it on. And then just fill in that buckle. So you're just going to color it in. Make sure you have a good amount so it doesn't dry too quick. But you don't want it so gloppy. You want just enough. And you'll be able to tell. Now to get this back in the hole. Okay. So let's emboss this. Let's grab the spoon again. Really, that one came out really good. Okay. So I'm going to grab that heat tool and emboss the white. And then let's get her hat. You can see how that bubbles up. It looks awesome. Because then it really does make it look like an old buckle. I'm not going to touch it because the glue is probably not completely dry. All right, so let's grab this punch, see if I have to trim, and I don't. I'm just going to punch that out. Grab our orange and a little bit of glue. And I'm just looking, and I got one piece right here. Just scrape it off. Okay, let's pull our card back in. We're going to grab our girl, and she's going to go right here. Now I'm going to pop her up. I'm going to pop her up from her neck down because her head is going to stick over the top of that piece. And I don't want to add dimensionals where it's going to hit the back of the card. So just from her neck down. So that'll be my guide. So we can add her right about there. For our sentiment, I'm going to also pop this up. So we'll just put them on either end. And hopefully one, it'll go right across this tree. Before I push it, I just want to make sure it's straight. And then we're going to grab this sweet little, actually, let's glue him right there this time. I'll hide that little piece. So we'll add a little bit of glue there. And let's get a mini dimensional. It's not a mini. Here we go. We'll put a little mini dimensional right at the bottom of his legs here so it hits the card. And we'll add him right there. Is he straight? Yep. And then let's pull that ribbon out. We'll tie another bow for this card. I will do a drawing. I'm going to do it the same as I did last week. I'll gather up everyone's names who has commented, and I'll put them into like random.org, and I'll pick a winner that way. This week, I am going to give away the Ornate Thanks stamp set. Okay? That'll be the stamp set I give away this week. I do have designer series paper, but we'll give away a stamp set this week. So make sure you comment, and I'll manually pull everybody's names. I'll do it that way to keep it fair in case you're not logged into StreamYard. So let's grab a glue dot, and we're going to add it right here this time. Put that bow right there. Fluff it up and straighten it out. And then let's grab those embellishments. We're using the larger ones. We're going to put one on this corner and on this corner. And there is card number 2. So sweet little cards for Halloween. And you know, I've been meaning to show everybody this stamp set. In the new catalog, there's a limited edition stamp set, and you can stamp the back of your cards. Thanks, Pamela. Thanks, Margaret. With hand stamped just for you, made with love, handcrafted from the heart. Now, when you open these up, some of them do, if you were going to give them to a loved one, some of the stamps do have StampingUp.com on it. You do need that if you're going to sell your cards. But if you're just going to give it to a loved one, what I would do is, before you stamp it, grab your block. Let's grab this block here. Okay. Take a piece of painter's tape or Scotch tape and put it over the area that says Stamping Up. Okay. Just so it's covered. Ink up your stamp with whatever color you want to ink it with. So ink it up, then pull this off and stamp, and you'll be able to stamp it without the StampingUp.com. But I keep wanting to show everybody, it's really an awesome stamp set to add a nice little stamp to the back of your cards. Now for these, it would be hard, but I would do it in white embossing powder. But really great little stamp set. So I hope you enjoyed the cards. I'll pick the winner tonight or tomorrow, and I'll post the winner tomorrow. Yeah, I hear you, Linda. Isn't it terrible? You think you don't need something, and then you see it being used. It really is a cute little set. Like I said, the only drawback is there's so much coloring. So if you don't really like to color, that's the drawback. Thanks, ladies. I hope everybody had a great night. I sure did. I'll be picking a winner. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you so very much. Have a great night, and I will see you on Saturday. I'm not into Halloween either, but this set is cute. Bye, ladies.